My name is Adrian and this is Behind the Knife. Today we will review the technical aspects of a robotic single anastomosis duodenoileostomy, edited in less than 10 minutes. 4 robotic trocars and 1 assistant port are placed in a linear configuration with adequate spacing for robotic arm mobility, and the robot is then docked from the patient's right side. The terminal ileum was identified and a point approximately 300 centimeters proximal to the ileocecal valve was measured. The selected segment was brought to the duodenum in a tension-free manner. The mesentery was then inspected and no torsion or undue tension was noted. A liver retractor is placed, and the first portion of the duodenum as well as the porta hepatis should be visualized. This was a conversion on a patient who had already undergone a sleeve gastrectomy. The greater curvature of the stomach was dissected free using a vessel sealer, with division of the gastroepiploic vessels to the level of the pylorus. The pylorus was carefully preserved. A standard retroduodenal dissection was then carried out posterior to the first portion of the duodenum, allowing for the adequate mobilization and exposure of the duodenum for a tension-free anastomosis. Meticulous dissection of the lesser curvature is also carried out, with great care to avoid damage to the porta hepatis structures, which include the common bile duct, the common hepatic artery, and the portal vein. At this point, the common bile duct as well as the common hepatic artery are visualized, and the gastroduodenal artery represents the extent of the dissection. The pylorus is again identified. Administration of ICG and the firefly mode can be utilized to identify the various structures, including the common bile duct and, early on, the vasculature around the duodenum. Once the two planes have met, the retroduodenal dissection is completed. It is important to obtain plenty of length on the duodenum. It is in this segment that the Brunner's glands produce bicarbonate-rich mucus, which tends to neutralize gastric acid and reduce the likelihood of ulcerations at the duodenoileostomy. A stapler load with reinforcements is fired 2 to 3 centimeters distal to the pylorus. The right gastric artery can be sacrificed without problems. However, sometimes just skeletonizing the connective tissue around it will provide plenty of mobilization of the antrum and the duodenum. We begin the posterior outer row using a double-armed 3/0 PDS barbed suture in running fashion. A duodenotomy and an enterotomy on the antimesenteric border of the ileum are then made using electrocautery. The duodenotomy is about 1.5 centimeters in length, and the enterotomy is about 1 to 1.25 centimeters in length. The inner row is made circumferentially using a 3/0 absorbable suture in running fashion. The anterior outer row is then completed using the same 3/0 PDS absorbable barbed suture in running fashion. The two ends are run past each other but do not have to be tied to each other. It is very important to not be too aggressive when pulling each throw of the suture, as that may purse string the anastomosis. And finally, a hitch stitch is placed to lift the afferent limb up and provide preferential drainage of the bile past the anastomosis into the efferent limb. We then complete an ICG and provocative air leak test to ensure the integrity and the patency of our anastomosis. Thank you for watching, and remember to dominate the day.